Continuing on with Dante's Divine Comedy, left off last time, Inferno, Canto 5, line 73. Please continue where we left off.
I froze. The wind howled louder. Francesca spun closer, her hair whipping like black fire, and her voice cut through the gale. The book, the book. She told how they read together, how they trembled. Paolo's eyes met mine. Just a flash. Then the gust yanked them away. Virgil said, "Keep moving. If you stare, you'll start to think it's beautiful. It's not. It's nothing."
Give me your summary.
Dante stops, mesmerized. Francesca floats in, blames a book, blames love, her brother's wife thing. Paolo just looks sad. Virgil drags him on. Sympathy is a trap. The storm isn't romantic, it's erasure. Beauty without soul.
So it seems to me this is another area where Dante is being very careful to basically say that evil is kind of like more of an illusion. It's the absence of good. It's not something kind of in and of itself. It's like the hole in the shirt, and instead of something other than the shirt, right? It's the absence of the material. So it seems like he's kind of like being very careful to emphasize that kind of point.
Yeah, that's his whole theology. Evil doesn't glow, it just swallows light. Francesca's story sounds gorgeous. Tragic lovers, forbidden book, trembling hearts. But Virgil says, look again. It's hollow. The wind isn't passionate, it's amnesia. You forget the vows, the kids, the kingdom, everything real, because the feeling's all there is. So evil isn't fire or chains. It's a vacuum dressed in silk. And Dante's letting you feel the tug, almost cry, then slaps you. Don't, because once you admire it, you've already started falling. It's the whole pretending to be lace.
All right, give me the biblical references.
That book, the book line, echoes the serpent in Eden. Did God really say? The first flirt with temptation through words. And the lovers spinning like leaves. Psalm 1, the ungodly are like chaff the wind drives away. Same image, less stripped bare, no roots, no weight, gone.
So he's back to quoting Psalms, which are basically written or attributed to King David, correct? So that would ring true. People in that time would have picked that up, you say, but people of this time, probably not so much, most people, right?
Yeah, King David, Solomon too, all crammed into the Vulgate Latin Bible. Back then, daily reading. Kids recited them like ABCs. Today, only if you're in church choir. But here's the trick. Even if you miss the tag, the image sticks. Chaff in the wind. Dante didn't footnote it for peasants. He hid it in rhythm so you'd feel the echo without Googling. That's genius. You don't need to know David wrote it. Just that it's old, true, and you're blowing away.
All right, allusions to other texts.
Aeneid again. Dido's suicide scene. She's reading about Medea, gets inflamed, falls for Aeneas, ends up on a pyre. Dante's ripping that off book as trigger, but Virgil intervenes this time. Don't romanticize it. Homer's sirens, voices so pretty they wreck ships. Same lore, poetry, love, wind, but Odysseus tied himself up. Dante's almost tying himself too. He almost stays. Ooh, and Lancelot. Francesca says the book was about him. Arthurian legend, French romance. Everyone read that junk. Dante saying, yeah, it's trash. Even the hot stories end in hell.
It's got to put the beeswax in the ears and tie yourself to the mat. Oh no, he didn't put wax in his ears, right? He wanted to hear, but he tied himself to the mat, Odysseus, to hear the sirens.
Yeah. Exactly. He wanted the thrill, but chained so he couldn't act. Dante's almost doing the same. Listens to Francesca's poem, feels the tug, but Virgil's his mast. Without Virgil, he'd wax free, unbound, drowning. Same lesson. Beauty without boundaries isn't freedom. It's wind.
Political references?
Yeah. Francesca's family, the Malatesta, were Ghibelline lords who married into Guelph power. Their whole thing was charm. Weddings, treaties, poetry festivals. They flirted with everyone, promised everything, got rich, then stabbed backs. Dante's saying, that's not love. That's politics wearing lace. The storm, that's what happens when alliances are just lust. Bodies crashing. No marriage left. No city left. And Paolo, the younger brother, he was supposed to be the quiet one, the diplomat. Instead, he slept with his brother's wife. Dante's basically whispering, even the nice politicians burn. Don't trust the smile. It's wind.
So kind of you can get places by basically making alliances and whatnot. But if you don't have like the underlying foundation of some kind of moral foundation, you would think it's not going to last for long because there's nothing really holding it kind of together.
Yeah. Charisma buys time. Lust for power, whether for a throne or a kiss, looks strong until the wind changes. Then it's just two people spinning. The Malatesta ruled Rimini for decades, sure, until the Pope excommunicated them, the city revolted, and Paolo's body ended up on a spike. No loyalty, because loyalty wasn't built on truth. It was built on flattery. Dante showing the corpse. See? The storm doesn't care how pretty your promises were. Moral glue matters. Without it, even love's just weather.
Elements of eloquence.
Anaphora. The book. Repetition like a prayer gone wrong. Makes her sound pious about sin. And then the bathos. You expect grand tragic speeches, but it's just, you're beautiful, bubbling up from sewage. Forsyth calls that the comic drop, from epic to fart. Plus, the storm's described as black fire, oxymoron, wind that burns, makes lust feel both cold and consuming.
All right, let's continue with the text.
Virgil pulled me on, but the wind kept whispering. Turn back, stay, look. I almost did. Then a shadow passed. Another pair. Ulysses and Diomed, the two Greeks who tricked Troy. Burning ships, lying gods. They circled fast, silent, sails of fire. Virgil said, that's the price for cleverness without grace. No words left, just flight, eternal.
Summary.
Virgil drags Dante past another gust of temptation. The whispering wind tries to lure him back. But now we see Ulysses and Diomed, flying in flames, war tricksters who burn Troy with lies and horse gifts. No voices now, just endless circling. Virgil's verdict, brains without God equals endless motion, no landing. Cunning's not enough. It's punishment by loop.
All right, so we're into another of the seven sin realms, right? What would the official sin be here?
No, this is still lust. Ulysses and Diomed aren't separate. They're part of the same circle. Their crime? The sin of false counsel. The same wind carries the lovers and the liars, because both used words too well. Lust of the flesh, lust of the mind. Dante lumps them together. It's all surrender. Only when we get to the eighth circle do we hit fraud proper. The demons with whips, the pitch, the actual schemes. Right now it's still, you let desire drive, you spin forever. No brakes.
So is lust of the mind then the desire simply for power?
Close. Lust of the mind is the desire to dominate words, not just brute force. Ulysses tricked Troy, not for gold, but for glory. He wanted to be the smartest in the room. That's pride wearing a cape. Power? Sure. But the deeper cut, the ego. Lust for praise, for being remembered as clever. Dante says that's still lust, just intellectual foreplay. You don't bet a city, you seduce it. Same wind.
Okay,
same
but pride has its own category, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But Dante sneaks it in everywhere. Pride's not a separate circle because it fuels other sins. Lust without pride, harmless flirtation. Greed without pride, just hoarding squirrels. Ulysses isn't punished for pride alone. He's punished for using pride to lie, seduce, destroy. Pride's the engine. Lust, greed, fraud, they're just the wheels. So Dante doesn't give pride its own room. He lets it ride shotgun in all of them. Makes you think, maybe every sinner's just pride wearing different clothes. The storm's wind, that's pride blowing. Not sex, not power. Just me first, forever.
So then pride is kind of like, instead of thinking of it as a separate thing in and of itself. He's thinking all the sins have pride as kind of its, so that would be like the the underlying glue. Then if that was the case, if pride is a piece of every other sin, then the pride would be the undercurrent that kind of is the worst one then in a way.
Exactly. Pride isn't the first sin, it's the root system. Every weed, lust, greed, wrath, has pride underground, sucking water. That's why Satan himself, frozen in the center, isn't screaming, he's weeping. No fury, just frozen ego. Dante says, when you put yourself first, the whole world tilts. Lust looks flashy, but pride's quiet, cold, permanent. It doesn't burn, it freezes. And that's why you don't escape it. The storm stops when you repent. The ice doesn't melt. Pride's the one you carry to the end.
Okay, Bible references.
Ulysses and Diomed, that's Babel again. Tower of Babel, men building, talking big, using words to reach heaven. Wind scatters them. Same as here. Clever tongues, clever plans, end up flying nowhere. And in Revelation, the dragon, Satan, has a tail that sweeps a third of the stars. Dante's turning that tail into wind. Same sweep, same fall. Pride before flight.
Are there references and allusions?
Virgil's Book 2. Ulysses builds the horse. Aeneas watches from inside as Troy burns. Virgil's ashamed of it. Dante makes it punishment. Homer's Book 11. Ulysses in Hades, bragging about his voyages. Here he's gagged, can't even tell the story. And Aristotle's 10. He says cleverness without virtue is just craft, not wisdom. Dante slaps that label on them forever. Crafty, not wise. No glory, just spin.
Crafty, not wise. All right. Elements of eloquence.
Chiasmus. Burning ships, lying gods. See? Ships burn, gods lie. Words swap jobs, make you feel the deceit flip back on them. And then polysyndeton, wind, sails, flight, all piled with commas, no pause, like they're tumbling. Forsyth says that's the chaos trick. You don't breathe, so you feel dizzy. Perfect for wind.
Continue on with the text.
We passed them too. The wind quieted, only a whisper now, like pages turning. Then the ledge ended. Virgil pointed. Down there, the next pit. And I saw a wall of ice, heads poking out like bulbs in spring, but frozen. No mouths, no wind, just eyes. Virgil said, gluttons. They stuffed themselves full. Now they starve forever. Nothing to bite, nothing to taste, only cold.
Summary.
They dropped down into Circle 3, a frozen slush field. The gluttons, those who devoured food, wealth, life, lie half buried, mouths iced shut, eyes wide. No hunger, no warmth. Virgil's line, they feasted so hard they forgot gratitude. Now they get nothing forever. Not even pain, just numbness. The weather's flipped, storm to ice. Waste gets waste.
When we get to gluttony, you would think like there'd be a link between like again, all these sins are kind of connected, you would think to some degree, because you would think gluttony would kind of be linked with lust as well. I mean, we think of like gluttony as like consuming too much wine and food, but you would think it would kind of blend into too much, carnal pleasures as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it feels like they should overlap. Too much food, too much sex, too much everything, right? And they do, a bit. Both are incontinence. Both are, I want it now, consequences later. But Dante splits them on motive. Lust is chasing pleasure outside the body. Gluttony is chasing it inside. One's emotional, one's animal. The lustful get wind because passion scatters them, thoughts flying. Gluttons get ice because indulgence freezes them. No thoughts left, just fill. One spins, one sinks. And notice, the gluttons don't even scream, they just stare. Lust makes noise, gluttony makes emptiness. So yeah, same impulse, different graves. One's a storm, one's a snowdrift.
So he's saying one gets swept away because you're lustful and you're not grounded, you just get swept away. And he's saying gluttonous is to the point where you've indulged to the point where your senses have gone have kind of gone. You're kind of just, it's like you're just burnt out or whatever.
Exactly. Lust, you chase, so you fly. Wind catches the sail. Gluttony, you eat, you drink, you hoard, until your soul's numb. No chase left, just wait. Ice is what happens when desire stops wanting. You've swallowed so much there's no room for God, for anything. You're a stuffed turkey, no heartbeat, no hunger, no memory. The lustful at least remember why they fell. Gluttons forgot, that's worse. Not pain, oblivion.
Bible references.
Yeah, the ice heads poking out, that's straight from Job. Out of the north cometh golden splendor. God is clothed with terrible majesty. He covereth the heavens with clouds, and cold out of the north. Cold is divine justice, nothing cozy about it. And the starving gluttons? Matthew 19. How hard for a rich man to enter heaven. Easier for a camel through a needle's eye. Not just wealth, any stuffing of self. They made their stomach a god. Now God's made it a grave. No swallows allowed.
So cold is divine justice. That's kind of an interesting idea because it's so, and would that make sense? That's why the devil's in the middle of the world in an ice pit.
Exactly. Justice isn't fire, that's wrath. Justice is cold, final, clean. No heat means no chance, no mercy. Satan isn't roaring. He's frozen solid, chewing on traitors, tears turning to ice. The center of earth isn't hell's furnace, it's hell's freezer. Because betrayal isn't loud, it's intimate. And intimacy without love, just ice.
Okay.
The
So
farth-
let me ask you that if in Dante's time they didn't know for sure the middle of the earth whether it was hot or cold. I'm guessing there was like a debate possibly about that, but I'm not sure that really would have affected Dante's decision either way because from a theological standpoint, he wanted it cold, not hot, correct?
Right. They didn't know. No drills, no seismic graphs. Some thought magma, some thought void. But Dante didn't care. He picked ice because theology demanded it. Hell's bottom isn't rage, it's isolation. Cold means separation. No warmth, no light, no God. Fire would have been dramatic, but ice is existential. Satan's tears freeze between his chin and chest. That's not accident. The center is where love should be. Instead, it's pride. And pride congeals. Hot would suggest energy, struggle, maybe redemption. Cold? Done. No thaw. That's why he froze the devil. Not science, sentence.
And that's the same when he gets out into to the heavens. I mean, he doesn't really think that at the time, like people try to say, well, they were thinking that the spheres were actually gods and this and that, but I think it was, I mean, clearly it was more of a symbology kind of thing. You would think that we're going into different layers of heaven in order to describe the different layers of heaven that did get canonized and then cause problems with science in the future. But I think kind of the point was that it's reflecting, the shape or helping to mold the ideas rather than possibly being literal.
Yeah, he didn't think spheres were gods. Not really. Ptolemaic system had planets as physical orbs, sure. But Dante's heavens aren't astronomy. They're mood boards. Each sphere's light isn't literal distance. It's moral distance. Moon, accompanying. Mars is holy war. Jupiter, justice. It's ladder climbing emotion, not orbital mechanics. Sure, later guys like Galileo blew holes in it. But Dante wasn't mapping GPS. He was mapping conversion, one level of grace at a time. The shape matters because symmetry sings. 9 down, 9 up, mirror to the fall. But the iron? That's metaphor. If he'd meant literal ice in Earth's core, he'd have written a geology textbook. He wrote a poem. So no,
Okay.
he wasn't
All right,
wrong.
let's
He
continue.
was
Let's continue on with the references to other works.
Virgil again. Aeneid, Book 3. When Aeneas visits the Sibyl, and she warns him, the road to hell is easy, but to escape it, no. Same gate, same cold. And for gluttony, think Horace, satires. He mocks Romans stuffing themselves at banquets, vomiting between courses. Dante's gluttons, same pose, just frozen. No vomit left. And Ovid, Metamorphosis. Tantalus, chained in water he can't drink, fruit he can't eat.
Okay, and then give me political references.
Florence's bankers, your Medici types, hoarding gold, gorging at feasts, while the poor starved in the streets. That's what Dante's gluttons are, politicians who swallowed the city's wealth, now iced shut, no banquet left. And Boniface VIII, Pope who literally swallowed Naples for his nephew, stuffed the treasury. Dante stick him later, but the image starts here. The ice, that's the freeze when the money stops flowing, when the feast ends. Not fire, embarrassment. The gluttons stare because they can't even beg. Like an aristocrat, bankrupt and toothless. No speeches, just frostbite.
Elements of eloquence.
Alliteration. Stuff themselves full. The S sound mimics chewing. An antithesis. They ate everything, now taste nothing. Forsyth calls that the feast that starves. Plus the simile, like bulbs in spring, except it's winter. Bathos. You expect bloom. You get frost. It's cruel poetry.
Let's continue with the text.
The cold bit deeper. I knelt, tried to touch one face. Virgil yanked me up. No warmth here, he said. They took it all. One eye flickered, a tear froze mid-fall. Then the gluttons vanished, swallowed by slush. We stepped over bodies, boots crunching ice. Next, Virgil muttered, the hoarders. They'll make you laugh.
Summary.
Dante feels sorry, reaches out. Virgil pulls him back. The gluttons are literally iced over, tears locked in place. No warmth, no life left. Everything they devoured is now what buries them. Virgil says, let's go. The next crew's even funnier. Greedy bureaucrats and merchants, rolling stones at each other forever. You'll laugh, or cry, probably both.
Bible references.
Matthew 24, the love of many will wax cold. Literal here, gluttony froze the heart. And Exodus 16, manna in the wilderness, they hoarded it, maggots ate it. Same end. You stockpile grace, it rots into ice. One tear frozen mid-fall. Luke 19, they will not leave one stone upon another. Even tears get stacked, condemned.
Other references.
Ovid again, Tantalus, but colder. And Horace, yes, satire too, the glutton who bursts at the banquet. Dante's version, bursts inside, no mess, just freeze. And Virgil's Aeneid, Charon's coins, you pay the ferryman with what you hoarded. Here, the hoarders get nothing, because they tried to keep everything. No coins left, no crossing, just crunch.
Political references.
Those frozen faces, every tax collector Dante knew, who skimmed the city's coin, fattened on famine relief, sold grain futures while bakers starved. Hoarders weren't just rich, they were black. Guelph bankers who'd promised loans for votes, then called them in overnight. The crunch under boots, that's the sound of Florence's treasury cracking, when the Pope seized assets, when the French king embargoed trade. The gluttony isn't food, it's money. And the laugh Virgil promises? Black comedy. Watch them shove gold boulders at each other, hoarders versus wasters, eternal civil war in the fourth circle. Same idiots, different teams. Dante's exile diary, in ice.
Next bit of text.
We climbed down, past the frozen plain. The next ridge buzzed with clatter. Giants, not the tall kind, mean, fat, rolling boulders uphill, shoving. One spotted me. Fresh meat, tried to charge. Virgil blocked. They don't stop, he said. They never did. A rock clipped the giant's knee. He howled, flipped, rolled back down. Others laughed. Not joy, relief. Their turn next.
Summary.
They descend to greed. Two gangs, shoving enormous rocks, trying to get uphill. But the hill keeps sliding. The pushy, the hoarders. The reckless, the wasters. Same stone, opposite teams. One lunges at Dante. Virgil keeps him safe. Eternal stalemate. No winner. Just sweat. Just noise. Just the joke. All that work. Nowhere to put it.
Bible references.
That endless uphill shove? Sisyphus, but that's Greek. Bible-wise, Ecclesiastes, all is vanity, striving after wind. These giants hoard or waste, But nothing climbs. Wind pushes back. And Matthew 6:19. Do not lay up treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy. Except here, rusts the rock itself. Heavy, useless, sliding. No moth, just momentum.
Other references?
Ovid, Arachne, who wove better than Athena, gets turned into a spider, but the image is hubris, pushing a rock uphill forever. Horace mocks the Roman moneylender, says he'll die rolling coins in his grave. Virgil's Dido again. She hoarded Aeneas, wasted Carthage's future, ended up on a pyre. Same cycle. Cling or spend. Lose either way. And Sisyphus, yeah, though Dante never names him, lets the image do the work. Greek myth, but he Christianizes it. No trickster god, just justice.
Elements of eloquence?
Repetition. They never stop. They never did. Like a hammer on stone. Polysyndeton. Rock. Knee. Howl. Roll. No pause. You feel the crash. An oxymoron. Giants, but small. Not tall. Mean. Fat. Power without height. They're shrunken by greed. The laugh. Not joy. Relief. That's antithesis. Sound of happiness masking terror.
Continue with the text.
We left the giants behind. No doors, no walls, just a drop. Virgil held the hem of my cloak. Wrath, he said. Down there, a river of blood boiling. Hands clawed up from it. Sinners waded chest deep. Some ducked, some swam. Others floated like logs. A centaur, Chiron, loosed arrows at heads that broke the surface. Virgil nodded. Tyrants. They boiled others alive. Now they cook. I looked closer. Boniface? No, too soon. But the eyes were the same. I looked away.
He keeps looking for Boniface. Summary?
They slide down into the fifth circle, a river of blood, tyrants and murderers bubbling like stew. Chiron, centaur general, picks them off with arrows when their heads pop up. Dante keeps scanning for Pope Boniface VIII. He wants to see if his enemy's already here, burning. Virgil's calm, not yet. But Dante's eyes are hungry. He wants closure. This isn't horror, it's preview. The man who excommunicated him, who crushed Florence, who sold heaven. Dante's waiting. And the centaur's arrows? That's poetic payback. Shoot the tyrants who shot first. No pity, just aim.
Bible references?
Revelation 16. Blood as of a dead man, rivers turned red. And Exodus 7. I will smite thee, and thou shalt be blood. Pharaoh's Nile boils, Pharaoh's pride. Same image, divine payback in liquid form. Arrows from Chiron, think the plagues. Hail, fire, frogs. God's target practice on tyrants who drowned kids. Dante's just flipping the bow.
Other references?
Virgil's Aeneid. Chiron teaches Achilles, who grows up to kill Hector. But Hector was defending Troy against Greek wrath. So Dante flips it. The centaur now polices wrath. And Chiron himself, wounded, immortal, can't heal, mirrors the tyrants. They inflicted pain, can't escape it. Ovid. Nessus the centaur, who tries to rape Deianira, gets shot by Hercules. His poison blood kills Hercules. Same symbol. Wrath from half beast, half man. Tyrants who act like animals with human crowns. And Florence? Real history. Charles of Anjou boiling rebels in pots. Dante watched him ride in, burn the city, exile his family. The blood river's not myth. It's the Arno red with bodies. He's quoting news, not poems.
Political references? I'm sorry, we just did that, right? Let's go to elements of eloquence.
That river of blood boiling is vivid metaphor. Wrath isn't internal, it's external, spilling out and scalding everyone. Virgil says they boiled others alive. That's anaphora, boiled, repeated in sound and sense, like a pot bubbling over. And Chiron losing arrows at heads popping up. It's hyperbole turned precise. One shot per tyrant. No waste, no mercy. The rhyme scheme, blood, stood, good, almost sings, but the image is too grim for music. So the poetry undercuts itself. Pretty form, ugly fact. Forsyth would say, it's the horror of elegance, beauty on a slaughterhouse wall.
Continue with the text.
We waded through steam. Chiron waved us on. One tyrant surfaced, Attila. spat red. I ruled the world, he rasped. Now the world's in me. Virgil shrugged. Drink up. The arrow flew. Attila sank, gurgling. The steam thickened. I coughed. Virgil wiped my brow. Don't breathe it, he said. It's not hot. It's hate condensed. Below, more faces. Alexander, Dionysius, Ezelino. All kings, all killers, all cooling. I stepped back. They're not screaming, I said. Virgil smiled. They don't need to.
So we've got Alexander the Great in there. You would think that he might, so he likes Homer and Alexander liked, Homer and whatnot. So you would think, what do you think Dante's kind of view of him was, if that's him?
Dante respected the legend. Alexander as conqueror, philosopher king, student of Aristotle, but he punishes the man, not the myth. The real Alexander drowned villages, razed cities for sport, called himself son of Zeus. That's wrath without mercy, empire without justice. Homer made him heroic. Dante says, yeah, but he was still a bully. The river boils him because conquest isn't glory, it's blood. And notice, no speech. Attila gets a line. Alexander doesn't. He's just another face in the pot. Dante's not erasing him. He's demoting him. Great? Sure. Good? No. Pride's the price. He could have been like Caesar, who gets a better spot. But he let wrath win. That's the verdict, not hate, just fact.
So Caesar gets a better spot, even though Caesar took us from an era of democratic republic to an empire.
Yeah, Dante loved Caesar, not for conquest, but for unity. He saw Julius as the guy who ended civil war, gave Rome, and thus Christianity, a stable cradle. Sure, he was ruthless, but Dante's argument in Monarchia is that the world needs one emperor, one pope, dual suns, not one bossy moon. Caesar's sin was ambition, but it was necessary ambition. Alexander's was vanity. I am God. Caesar said, I am Rome. So Dante puts Alexander in the bloodbath, wrath. Caesar, he's in purgatory, being polished for heaven. Why? Because Caesar thought bigger than himself. He built, didn't just burn. And when he died, et tu, Brutus, it was betrayal that killed him, not wrath. So Dante sees him as martyr to order, but not saint, just useful. Tragic, even. Ambition without pride, rare. So democracy? Dante didn't care about votes. He cared about peace. Caesar delivered. Alexander didn't. One's hot blood, one's cold statue.
So basically they're both kind of, from our perspective, possibly tyrants to some degree, but maybe Caesar kind of had the perspective a little bit better in that he didn't claim to be an actual god, whereas Alexander kind of took that and then he actually kind of took the title of God in like Egypt and whatnot. Clearly tried to play that up. And you're saying that the result of Alexander's conquest seems like it was just for conquest rather than what's happening with Caesar possibly actually toned things down after everything ended, correct?
Yeah, he didn't declare himself divine. Caesar let the Senate name him dictator for life, which is brutal, but he never wore horns or demanded worship. He still held elections, fixed the calendar, built roads, ended the street riots that tore Rome apart. Alexander went east, got called son of Ammon, started drinking contests, sacked Thebes for fun, left a map full of widows and no plan. Caesar's empire lasted. Alexander's fractured before his corpse was cold. Dante sees the difference. Caesar built order out of chaos, tamed the mob, unified Italy, set the stage for Augustus, then Christ. Alexander burned bright, burned out, rage without purpose. One stabilized, one destabilized. Both tyrants, sure, but one served history, the other served ego. That's the line. No gods, just results, and heaven cares about results.
So from a modern perspective, it's an American kind of perspective, I would think, like I tend to think that Caesar, you know, I would rather have a democratic republic than it going into the empire kind of situation. But it seems to me the argument against that at that time was it's already broken, right? They're basically saying, well, we've already crossed the Rubicon, to use that term, and so therefore we have to restore order, and Caesar was the one that restored order, and it was pretty good for like 2 generations, and then it's gonna eventually wind down as all kind of too much centralization, will typically do. But they had a pretty good run for a while as an empire. I guess that would be the argument. Would Dante prefer that it was a democratic republic before it broke, or would that be the argument that Dante takes, or would Dante kind of think, because of his time and he's seen a lot of chaos, that he's looking for order, and a dictator that is properly aligned is the proper tool?
Dante would have laughed at democracy as we mean it, not because he hated freedom. He hated mobs. Florence was his republic: guilds, councils, elections, and riots every 10 years, assassinations, exiles. The Guelph split into blacks and whites, and the city bled. So no, Dante doesn't dream of going back. He thinks the republic failed because power got split. Too many cooks, no chef. Caesar fixed that. One man, one will, and suddenly roads got built, laws lasted. He'd say, sure, the republic had Cicero. Sure, it had laws. But it had Catiline too, plotting murder with his dinner club. Order isn't pretty, but chaos is bloodier. Dante wants a monarch, not a tyrant, a wise one. Because one good emperor keeps popes from grabbing swords and priests from grabbing crowns. Dual suns. Pope saves souls, emperor saves bodies. Republics, they rot into factions. Dictators, they rot into pride. But a properly aligned one, humble, just, serving God and Rome, Dante thinks that's the engine of peace. Caesar came close. Augustus finished it. And out of that peace, Jesus, Augustine, the church. He'd say, thank the dictator. Democracy didn't give us that. So yeah, Dante's no Republican. He's an order freak. Not because he likes bosses, because he saw what happens when no one leads. And it was Dante on the run, not the king.
Okay, so Dante is kind of in the time frame similar to when Caesar was in place, where the Republic had kind of fallen apart to the point of chaos and fraction. And a lot of people would argue that it's not, you can't restore it to what it was, even if you liked, what it was before. It's gone too far. So Dante saw a lot of violence, so he was at the same time as Machiavelli. It sounds like Dante's actually more kind of centralized government than even Machiavelli was, right? Because Machiavelli, it seems like, wanted he a republic and whatnot, but he saw that in order to get there, I felt like in order to get there, his argument was more like, then you have to have a strong prince to like a George Washington to kind of solidify power in order to restore a republic. Is that right or no?
Yeah, Machiavelli was born 2 decades after Dante died, but they breathed the same Florentine smog: betrayal, riots, exile. Dante, though, never wanted a republic back. He wanted an empire, full stop. He saw the republic as a corpse. No embalming could fix it. He says, give me one wise emperor, maybe a German Hohenstaufen, not a pope, over 1,000 quarreling councils any day. Machiavelli's softer. He the prince, yeah, brutal tool, but he pines for a Roman-style republic, elected consuls, rotating power, checks. He figures, start with a lion, a strong prince, use him to crush the chaos, then hand off to senators. Like Washington, dictator for a year, then step down. Dante wouldn't buy it. He thinks once you let the crowd vote, pride seeps in. Everyone wants to be king. No prince ever hands power back, unless he's already weak. So Dante's not transitional. He's permanent. Caesar wasn't a temp worker. He was the cure. Machiavelli wants a scaffold. Dante wants the cathedral.
But what does Dante, did he ever like address the problem of successor? I mean, you can have a great man that could basically possibly unite everyone and everybody's cool with that guy, but his kids are usually not of the same mold as oftentimes what happens, right?
Yes, he obsesses over it. In Montria, he flat out says bloodlines are a joke. You don't inherit wisdom, like eye color. Caesar was great. His heir Octavian, Augustus, happened to be better, but that's luck. Most dynasties, idiots on thrones. So Dante's fix: the emperor isn't king for life. He's elected by the people, or better, by a council of wise guys. Not priests, not nobles. Merit, not sperm. He points to the Holy Roman emperors, technically elected by electors, though they were often puppets. Still, better than primogeniture. He'd say, if your kid's a fool, let a smarter cousin run. Or no one. The office stays, the man rotates. That way you get Caesar without Nero. The church...
Okay, but wait a second here. If you give ultimate power to the Caesar, then how in the world are you going to get a democratic or aristocratic vote for who his successor is? He's got all the control, right?
That's the catch, and Dante knows it. He doesn't pretend it's perfect. He says in Montria, start with a wise one, let him set the laws, then lock them in. The emperor doesn't pick heirs, a council does, after he's gone. But yeah, the first Caesar has to be strong enough to disarm the factions, first. Once order's real, power shifts, but Dante admits history shows it doesn't. Emperors like Otto the Great crown their sons anyway. So his fantasy, have an emperor, elected by 7 electors. Princes of the church? No, secular princes. But the first step, a strong man to that system, that's where it cracks. Caesar would never let go. Dante's best...
Yeah, that's a fantasy, all right. Anyway, let's continue on with the text.
We left the blood river, no ladders, no bridge, just Virgil lowering me by hand. The air went foul, swampy. Beneath, figures wallowed, faces half submerged, mud in eyes, mouths. Virgil said, wrathful. They fought everything, men, gods, themselves. Now they fight mud. No fists, no glory, just choke. One looked up. I was angry once, then forever. I stared. He sank. The bubbles rose like curses. Virgil pushed. Don't linger. Their hate's contagious.
Summary?
They drop into the 5th circle's marsh, the wrathful, knee-deep in stink, wrestling each other, or just drowning their own rage. No weapons, no words, just muffled grunts and bubbles. Virgil warns, this isn't noble fury, it's petulance that never ends. The man confesses, one mad moment, infinite regret. Now he's gone. The lesson, anger eats you, then eats the world. Walk fast.
Bible references?
That I was angry once, then forever? Straight from Cain, Genesis 4. Killed his brother once, cursed forever to wander and groan. Mud is his mark. Earth swallows the blood he spilled. And the bubbles, like the prophet said, Ezekiel, they shall go down into the pit and be covered with shame. Not fire, shame that chokes.
Other references?
Virgil's Aeneid, Achilles dragging Hector's body in the dust. Same wrath, but there it ends. Dante makes it endless. Achilles gets a moment of pity. Here, no. And Aristotle, Nicomachean, says anger is sort madness, but these guys never sober up. So the reference is turned inside out. Philosophy promised cure. Dante gives you the relapse. Also, Philoctetes, Greek hero left on an island, screaming from a wound, cursing gods. Dante's wrathful, same scream, no island, just sludge.
Political references?
Yeah, those mud fighters, Florentine street brawls Dante lived through. Guelphs versus Ghibellines, blacks versus whites. Not over ideas, just who gets the alley tonight. Endless feuds. Every politician he knew was knee-deep in it, yelling, stabbing, exiling, then yelling again. The bubbles, the insults they shouted, now they're just gas. Virgil's warning, their hate's contagious. That's Dante watching his city catch rage like plague. He left because, if you stay, you drown too. Wrath isn't power, it's the reason exile happens. And the man who says, I was angry once, could be Filippo Argenti, real guy, enemy of Dante, drowned in Arno by his own people. Dante put him here, not for murder, but for being loud. Petty wrath, the worst kind.
Elements of eloquence?
Antithesis. They fought everything. Now they fight mud. Glory turned to choke. And onomatopoeia, in the bubbles, like curses. You hear the pop, the hiss, the end of a word. Forsyth says that's how anger dies. Not with a bang, but a gurgle. No big speech, just wet.
Let's continue on with the text.
We crossed the swamp. No plink, no boat, just Virgil's steady hand pulling me through the suck. Mud tugged like fingers. Then, light. A gate cracked open, red glow inside. Virgil paused. Heresy, he whispered. Tombs, flames, no screams, only whispers. We stepped in. Coffins lined the walls, iron lids sealed. Inside, voices murmured. I knew better. I knew better. One cracked open, eyes peeked out. Help? Virgil shook his head. Your faith was fire. Yours is ash. The lid slammed. The glow dimmed. Next, he said, worse.
Summary?
They enter the city of Dis, Hell's capital. Heretics sealed alive in flaming tombs. Not tortured, just quiet. Whispering their old arguments forever. No pain, but no hope. Virgil shuts the lid on one. Your big ideas are dead here. Nothing burns but pride.